Hello and welcome to a very, very special episode of the Locker Room Show. I'm Haider, and with me, as always, will be Rehan and the very, very talented Nabeel Hashmi. Our guest today is a wonderful human being, and he has established himself as one of the premier most coaches in the world of cricket. He's also served as the coach of Pakistan, South Africa, and Australia, and presently is the coach of Sri Lanka. We have with us Mr. Mickey Arthur. Hello, Mickey. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you, Haider. Good to see you guys again. The three musketeers, as I say, all lined up. I'm ready to face you. Come on.
I mean, I think Nabeel has hyped it up as something being very, very hostile. Trust me, we won't be that hostile to you. We'll be as accommodating as Pakistan Cricket Board has been with you throughout your time with us. So don't worry about it.
That's pretty hostile always.
We're going to start off with this lockdown. Mickey, what have you been up to so far?
Absolutely nothing. Yeah, it's been we've been in lockdown here for about 8 weeks here in Colombo. So it's been quite tough. I say nothing. That's tongue in cheek. Obviously, I've been doing a hell of a lot of work. I've been trying to get as routine as I can. I'd had 3 months with the squad. I'd had a look at sort of the 2020 one day and test team. So I knew areas we had to work on. So we've tried to keep the guys active. I've done a lot of communicating. I've done a lot of one-on-one work. So I have tried to keep myself as active as I possibly can, but have not been allowed out the hotel. So haven't been able to get down for a beer or go out for a meal anywhere.
Okay, Mickey, but what I have to ask you one thing. So you said you have been communicating with the players, doing online connection with them as well, and doing a lot of things. Have you conducted fitness tests over the internet so far?
No, we haven't. We haven't done any fitness tests over the internet.
Why?
But there's an expectation on the players that when they come, they know where they need to be. I've told them that every week. So, we'll see. We'll see the guys that really want it and the guys that are just coasting. Because as soon as we start training, we'll see the guys that have put the work in.
Excellent. Nabeel, I'm going to let you start off with the questions first. So, Nabeel, the floor is yours.
So, Mickey, what do you want? You want us to go easy on you first up, or you want to face the hostile bounces?
No, you just bring it on. I'm ready for you guys.
Okay, so let me start with the point where the relationship between you and Pakistan cricket was disconnected. Do you think that you were let down by the PCB after being called after the World Cup to submit your report, and then you were not retained?
Oh, look, I don't think I was led on. I was very disappointed, and I know that straight after the Bangladesh game in England, I went and had lunch with Mr. Mani and Wasim Khan. We discussed the future. We discussed possibly a potential go until the 2020 World Cup. We discussed a new contract. I sort of firmly left that home of Mr. Mani's thing. I always knew there was going to be a review, which I advocated, because I think you need to have reviews. You need to be held to account. You need to be able to almost tell your side of the story, as it were. So I went back to South Africa straight after the meeting with Mr. Mani and Wasim Khan, thinking that I was gonna stay on. I really did, and my daughter got married in South Africa. I flew straight back from South Africa, straight back to Lahore, almost getting ready to start again. And then we had that review, and obviously they decided that they wanted to go in a different direction. So that was fine. It was tough. It was disappointing at that particular time. But that's the cricket world we live in. So I moved on, and 3 months later, Sri Lanka come calling.
Yeah, Mickey, if I just a second, just to follow up there, Mickey, if I recall correctly, I think um, a week or so before you left PCB. We met up in the PCB. We were in fact having conversations on someone who I was talking to you as a possible candidate as an assistant coach for the Pakistan team. So I mean, the reason why I bring this up is at that point in time, there was no way anyone could have foreseen or even could have assessed from your reaction at that point in time that you were anticipating not getting the job.
No,
So you
no,
were
no.
very convinced.
And I remember that. I remember that conversation well, Haider. No, at that point in time, I did think, because I had a really good positive conversation with Mr. Mani and with Wazim Khan, that I did think that I was staying. I really thought that.
Okay. Yeah, Nabeel, you were saying something?
Yeah, otherwise, I just wanted to ask Mickey, like, he has been, he has been like a journeyman like Imran Tahir, traveling all around the world, experiencing different cultures. So how do you cope up with that? Because it does take a, strain on you.
Sorry, Nabeel, I missed that.
I'm saying you have been
the traveling
traveling
and the
different.
toll it takes.
How do I cope on moving around?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, look, it's tough. It's tough. It's something that I wanted to do. It's my livelihood. It's given myself and it's given my family a really good life. But it is tough. It is tough. I've been sitting in Colombo all on my own for the last 8 weeks, growing flowers in a hotel 500 meters from me, but I can't get to see it because everything is in curfew. Although I don't tell anybody, I do sneak out once a week in the back of a van to go and see him. I put my mask on and I hide in the back and I sneak into Grant's hotel. But it is tough. It's been very, very tough, and I've missed a lot of my kids growing up. My kids are 27, 25, and 22 now. They all working. They've gone on with their lives, and I've missed that a lot. But by the same token, I've been able to provide a really good life for them. I enjoy going to different areas and different cultures, and I'm loving every minute of my time here in Colombo in Sri Lanka. It's got the feel of a project exactly like when I started with Pakistan, and those Pakistan years were 3 of the best years of my coaching career. I loved every minute of it. I loved the passion. I loved the emotion. I loved meeting the people. It was fantastic. It was tough at times. But it was, for you always seem to be putting out a fire, and then you get a really good emotion, and then you're down in the dumps again. I loved it. I loved trying to build a side. I loved working with those players because they were such good human beings, and they just wanted to learn. They wanted to get better, and they wanted to take Pakistan cricket to where its rightful place. So I love all that, Nabeel. To be honest, it's I guess it's part of who I am.
And I think it has been. I mean, for all of us presently right now in this conversation, we've had the opportunity of at least. I mean, not as much as Mickey, but we've had the opportunity of traveling for the game and working in different environments, and it has been. I mean, the exposure that one gets, it's phenomenal. Mickey, let's talk about your association with Pakistan cricket. I mean, I think it is fair to say that before the Pakistan team job came up, your first association obviously was as the coach of Karachi Kings. You spent 3 years there, and I mean 4 years there, I think, if I'm not mistaken, and established a team which was always which on paper was always very, very strong, and when the tournament came, it had some phenomenal performances, but always lacked something extra to go the whole 9 yards. So, I mean, talk about your experience of the PSL, especially with Karachi Kings. What went right for you?
Well,
what was the highlight for you?
It was the PSL that kind of gave me the introduction into Pakistan cricket, as you so rightly said, and it kind of started my fascination and love affair with Pakistan cricket. Was that first PSL was really nice. I was lucky. I was part of a really good franchise, and you're 100% right. It's we had a great team. We had some really good players, but we could just never get over the line. That was one thing that sort of rankled with me a lot. Was we always qualified, we always got into playoff positions, and then we could never quite nail it in that playoff game. So that was disappointing. And I think the one thing that highlights coaching as a franchise and being an international coach, it is such a different world. When you coach a franchise, you have those players for 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks perhaps, and then the players move on. So you're never actually ever in a position where you get enough time to work with them technically. You're always trying to create an environment and then trying to get the players to play. So it's about a brand of cricket. It's about your selection, and then it's about putting a team out on the ground. I love the international coaching because you're actually putting together a program over 12 months of the year for the players, and you can see those players then grow through that program. You deal with them technically, mentally, physically. And then to see them grow, that's the kind of stuff that really gives me a lot of satisfaction. I enjoy the 2020 world, but I don't feel I've had as a significant contribution as you have in international cricket, where you're actually plotting the careers of players.
Rehan, you want to ask something else?
Yeah. So, Mickey, related to this experience, you said that your experience started with Karachi Kings and your love affair with the Pakistan cricket team also started with the Karachi Kings. The one thing I wanted to ask you, and this is very interesting, Islamabad United had Babar Azam in season 1 of the PSL, and then he moved to Karachi Kings, and then you played a master stroke by promoting him to the opener's place. I mean, in T20 cricket, his record as an opener and his record elsewhere is very different. How did you think of promoting him to that position, and why did you do it?
Look, and just to go back to Babar Azam, and people, it's always reported Babar Azam is an unbelievable cricketer. And when I first saw him, I couldn't believe how excited I was. I'll never forget, just before we toured England in the first tour, I went into the indoor school. Grant Flower said to me, "Come and have a look at this boy. This guy can play." And I was so excited. He wasn't on that test tour, but we got him into the one day setup. And I just knew that this guy had to play every game for Pakistan from then on, because I felt he was going to be that good. But Babar's grown tremendously, and credit to him, he's become one of the world's best. To answer your question, though, that I thought in 2020 cricket, Babar was best suited to opening the batting simply because he plays proper cricket shots. Bob's has only now started to develop his game to be able to hit the ball out the ground. He is phenomenal in the power play because he just hits cricket shots through the field. He hits a phenomenal amount of boundaries. And he's a bit like Fakhar Zaman, although they get it done in such a different way. Babar scored at a hell of a rate because he pierces the field. He has that ability to hit the gaps, and he hits the gaps with good cricket shots, which gives you boundaries, which is best suited to opening the batting in 2020 cricket.
Okay, speaking of Karachi and your time with Karachi, right? So last year you did a very, very good job of assembling a good, strong local Pakistani core, and then sort of like, I mean, that was something that we always felt would stand one team out from the others. Having good, strong local core, because as far as the foreign players are concerned, you can have your pick of the foreign players when you enter the draft, but the local core becomes extremely instrumental. So we were anticipating this year would be the year when the local core would stand up for Karachi and deliver, which they did. But the piece that was missing was Mickey Arthur was no longer with Karachi. What happened there?
Look, it got to a point where I think, and I remember having a conversation with Salman. I'd been there 4 years. I felt they probably needed something different, and I'd given those core of players everything I could have, plus the fact that I had left Pakistan cricket. I felt that I also probably needed just a little bit of a break from the PSL. Sri Lanka were always talking to me as well, which meant that I was very keen to hopefully have secured the Sri Lankan position by the end of the year. So that would have then been unfair in Karachi if I had then suddenly just dropped them to take the Sri Lankan job, which I wanted to. But to be fair, I have a great relationship with Salman, and we still communicate. I watched the PSL, I watched the YouTube highlights every day. I was all over it, and I'll remain a Karachi Kings supporter for the time being anyway. But it was better for both parties that they got somebody else in, and it allowed me to explore other options as well. And as it happened, it all worked out fine.
Yeah, Nabeel, you want to follow up here?
Yeah, but otherwise, I just wanted to follow up on the Babar Azam's question. Mickey, like when Babar first arrived on the scene in the Pakistan team, there was Mohammad Hafiz performing well at number 3, and I think he had scored a few centuries as well. And then you promoted Babar. There was some reservations even from us as well. But then Babar, the amount of runs he amassed over the years, I think that has. Do you think that has surpassed your expectations as well? The level of consistency that he has shown.
Look. I always, it's I've had I just watch Baba with absolute awe, and like I always knew Baba was going to be that good when he came into the Test team, and we always knew he was going to be a really good white ball player. There was he was going to become a gun white ball player, but the thing for Baba was to become that Test player. That was always going to be where he was going to be judged, and he had to come in and bat 3 because Yunus was at 4 and Misbah was at 5, and Asad Shafiq was at 6. So the only position that was available for Baba to play Test cricket was at number 3, and I was adamant that I wanted Babar Azam to play every Test match because I knew it was almost like like Jacques Kallis. I think Jacques Kallis, after his first 10 Test matches, was averaging 9, and he ended up finishing by averaging 54. But he played all those Test matches because people could see he was that good. I could see, having worked with Baba and watched him train, I could see he was always going to be that good for sure.
So what do you think? Where could he end up?
Where
could Babar end up? When his career is done, where do you see him standing up? Like how many runs can he score? Can he score 10,000 runs in Test cricket?
Without a doubt. Without a doubt, I think Babar Azam will become Pakistan's leading run scorer in Test cricket, and he will go down as one of Pakistan's great players without a doubt.
Mickey, you've had a topsy-turvy time with in the Pakistan post. I mean, you've seen some brilliant times. Obviously, I think for all of us, the highlight has to be the Champions Trophy and the #1 ranking in Test as well, because you were there when that actually did happen, right? But there have been some pitfalls as well. And as you said, you felt a lot of times you were putting out one fire or the other, right? So which was the worst fire you had to put out?
Oh, geez, there's plenty of them. Where do I start? I kind of think, and you can go back to there were so many instances, but what I felt when I arrived, and certainly once Misbah and Yunus departed, was I felt that, and with our one day style, we needed to create an identity again. We needed to create a brand. We needed to create some standards, some proper standards that were continually adhered to, because I didn't want to sit here after 2 years and my tenure probably would have ended in 2 years if I had just done nothing. I wanted to make sure, albeit unpopular decisions at times, but I wanted to make 100% sure that when I left Pakistan cricket, the supporters and the players can say, you know what, Mickey and his support staff over that period of time have come in and they've left a legacy. We weren't there just to collect a salary check and just to try and make some, make a difference. I was there to create a legacy and to make some sort of sustainable difference to Pakistan. and that was for me was introducing a lot of young players that now, if played and if dealt with right, are gonna serve Pakistan cricket for a hell of a long time.
Mickey, there are a lot of
I have
questions are coming.
one
Yeah, yeah, sure,
one
go
thing
on, Rehan.
regarding this. So, Mickey, you and I had this discussion about dressing room culture once, and you're very big on the fact that when the young guys are coming in, they need to have the right type of people to be influenced by, and that created a huge problem for you as well. With a lot of seniors had issues and all. So, in terms of creating this culture, who do you think is the leader of the culture? I mean, in terms of the players, who's the one who the young player who basically became the leader of the dressing room? Who would you attribute that to?
I look, I think every player that we had, once we spoke about our culture, and once we had that collective buy-in, and it didn't happen overnight. We spoke about culture, we spoke about goals, we spoke about values over a period of time. And once we had that extended buy-in, and we had that buy-in particularly from the captain, who is so important, and my relationship with Sarfraz was outstanding. I hold Sarfraz in such high esteem. Um, he bought into what we wanted to do. Him and I complemented each other well, and we tried to then continually drive that culture. And you've got to say that the Baba Azam has now taken that step up because of his performances. He has now become a leader in that dressing room. I tell you who the other leader in that dressing room is Shadab Khan. And the Shadab Khan needs to be in that dressing room more and more, because he leads. He's a born leader. He's a born leader with his attitude, with the way he thinks about cricket, and with the way he plays the game. He's tough. There's leadership qualities in there. So that's why I say, with a core of young players, and you can go through those players, Baba Azam's, Sean Masood's got a lot of good leadership potential. You talk about the Hassan Alis, the Fahim Ashrafs, the Shadab Khans, the Shaheen Shah Afridis. We've seen the emergence of Naseem Shah now, Mohammed Hasnain. There's enough there to create that sustainable success. And all those young guys have that never say die attitude. They have that will to win, and they are continually determined to get better. And once you get your players doing that, your culture then soars, and you'll have hopefully you'll get some success that goes along with that.
Speaking
So
of
one thing
speaking of
about following up,
Sarfaraz, just one
yeah.
follow up on Sarfaraz's question, because I mean, you as you said, you've had a wonderful relationship with Sarfaraz, and both of you have seen a lot of highs and lows for the Pakistan team. Once the World Cup was done, because I think this also sort of like links to our earlier queries about how you felt when you were suddenly told that you were no longer in this position. Do you think Pakistan sort of like jumped the gun by also sacking Sarfaraz from pretty much captaincy from all three formats?
Yeah. Look, I think so. I do, and I think that once one of your leaders goes, and I say leaders, if you lose a coach, you've got to try and have a captain just to create a little bit more stability. So and Safi will be the first one to say that he probably didn't perform as well as he could have. And there were times when Saf and I spoke about perhaps, maybe him getting up the batting order just to take a bit of pressure off him. But he went through a period where he didn't probably perform as well as he should have with the bat. But the one thing that I'll say is Safi with the wicket-keeping gloves was outstanding. And the success of our 2020 side was paramount to his leadership. He is a phenomenal captain in 2020 cricket. Safi sees the game before it happens, and he's always an over or two ahead of it. So I do think they certainly jumped the guns. Perhaps it's white ball cricket. Maybe Test match cricket. They could have gone in a different direction. And Az is leading very, very well, and he will lead well. But I do think that it was just a little bit too early to pull the gun on Safi, and I think Safi's still got a hell of a lot to offer.
Okay, yes, Rehan, you were saying something?
Just so I wanted to follow up on two things. One is the legacy. So you created this T20 team, which was a monster. Never has T20 international teams seen so much success. I mean, winning trophy after trophy and bilateral series, no matter what people say about it, winning T20 games is tough because a lot of luck is involved as well. Sometimes it's not your day. So you build that team, and then when you left, the team lost badly, were whitewashed. How did you feel about that, and where did you think Pakistan went wrong? And if you were the coach, what different decisions you would have taken?
Oh, look, I think that there
By
was
the
some
way,
there was
before you proceed there, you're more than welcome to say what isn't broken, don't fix it.
Yeah, that was exactly my point. There was a formula in place that just needed to be adhered to, and once the coach goes, insecurities develop within the dressing room because players then start playing a little bit more for themselves because they want to be part of the plans going forward. So we did see those insecurities develop just a little bit, which um which came out in performance a little bit. There perhaps a couple of questionable decisions in terms of selection again, in terms of getting right players in, because there was a formula there that definitely worked, and that formula was going to hold Pakistan cricket in very good stead going forward in that form of the game for sure.
Okay,
Mickey, I just
Mickey.
wanted to ask one thing related to Fakhar Zaman. Fakhar came onto the scene and he was dominating teams. But then suddenly people realized that he could be exposed on the short delivery. So was this something that intentionally teams were doing it, and what was Pakistan's management was doing about it? Did you guys try to rectify?
Oh, we worked extremely hard and always do with Fakhar Zaman. And I would play Fakhar Zaman in my white ball team in Pakistan cricket because he has that X factor. The thing with Fakhar Zaman is you've got to give Fakhar Zaman, you've got to make him feel like a world champion. You've got to make Fakhar Zaman understand that he can win you games. And Fakhar Zaman will win games in a totally different way to what Baba Azam would. And I always said to Fakhar, I said, Fakhar, you're going to play every white ball game when I'm here. You're going to play. If you play 10, all I want you to do is win me 2. You win the team 2 games, you are doing your job. Because what we'll do is we'll build the players around you that gives you the freedom to go and play like Fakhar Zaman. But what happens is once you have a little bit of success, there becomes an expectation, and the responsibility on you then just grows and grows and grows. And then you've got to stay ahead a little bit of your game. And that's where we were trying to work so hard with Fakhar. Yes, Fakhar technically had issues that he needed to work on. For sure. There were plenty of technical issues. Fakhar Zaman is not going to be a technically correct batsman all the time. But what Fakhar Zaman does is when he's on song, he wins games of cricket for you. And in order to get Fakhar Zaman doing that, you've just got to make Fakhar Zaman feel like the world beater that he could possibly be.
Okay, Mickey, you faced. Let's talk about the World Cup now. You faced a lot of criticism. One criticism that I think which overshadowed all other criticisms that you faced in the past with the Pakistan team was the team selection. Because what happened was that the series with England right before the World Cup, you pick out a squad, you pick out a squad of 17. You say, okay, the Pakistan team announces them. We don't see Amir, or we don't see Amir in the top 15, and we don't see Wahab even in the first 17. And then Pakistan goes through a bit of a hammering at the hands of the hosts. And then you see Wahab is recalled. Amir makes his way into the team, which obviously leads to a lot of criticism back home. So while people were welcoming the decision to include these bowlers, they questioned the rationale of not selecting them beforehand. So what happened there? What exactly happened there? What made you change your mind, or were you always in favor of these guys to come in and weren't listened to? What happened?
Look, first and foremost, Mohammed Amir was always going to be part of the World Cup. and I think, you know, I got to a point where if I look back, and I'm going to take you 2 series back, we knew who was virtually going to go to the World Cup um, uh, before the Australian series that we had in the UAE. We took out virtually a second string team to that world to that competition, or whatever it was, the series with Australia. And that was something that if I had my time, I probably wouldn't have done again, because what it did do is albeit we got close in a couple of games. Harris got runs, Mohammed Rizwan got runs, Abid Ali came through. We lost, and whenever you lose, the pressure develops. So albeit that we made the decision not to take our first choice side, to give them a little bit of a rest before the England series and the World Cup, we put ourselves under pressure there because we lost the series, and so that put us under a little bit of pressure. Mohammed Amir, as every journalist was pointing out, you know, had taken, I think, since and I still remember everybody talking about, oh, he's taken like 7 wickets at 51 or whatever it was since Champions Trophy. Mohammed Amir was never in any doubt for me going to a World Cup. By leaving him out of that initial squad was just a gauge to see how he responded when we got into that England series. It was kind of just to get him going a little bit. And the same with Wahab, although Wahab at that point wasn't on the radar. We then had the games against England where albeit we lost 4-0, we got over 300 in every game and over 350 in 2 of them, but couldn't defend. We couldn't defend the runs there. Albeit we didn't have Shadab Khan, who plays a massive role for us in one-day cricket with his overs through the middle. So we didn't have Shadab there, which meant that we were short of just a little bit of experience. Mohammed Amir didn't play because he fell ill. Mohammed Amir, over that period of time, he got sick, and I'm just trying to think what he had, but he was ill, and we had to actually quarantine him at a point in time away from the team. But as that series progressed, and we saw how the wickets had played, and we had come up against the ultimate World Cup winners, we found we needed to possibly then go back to just a little bit more experience in our bowling attack, and that's where Wahab came into the picture. And obviously, for me, you know, I think Mohammed Amir is still the best white ball bowler in Pakistan. I really do. We needed then to just get a little bit more experience in, and we also thought that if the tournament got to the point where later on in the tournament where it started getting warm and the wickets got a little bit rough, a reverse swing was going to play a role, and that's when Wahab came back into the mix because of his ability to do that. Now, my issue with Wahab, and I always thought Wahab was an incredible bowler, but and Wahab and I have spoken about this numerous times. I had to be cruel to be kind to Wahab, because Wahab was an incredible bowler, but
some
I felt
feel
that
you were very cruel, mate. Some feel you were very cruel. Some feel you were very cruel to him in the middle.
No, at that point in time, his performances didn't warrant him playing. Yeah. Simple as that. His performances weren't good enough. Post Champions Trophy, his performances weren't good enough. Wahab went away and worked extremely hard. He got the crack out the backside that he needed. He went and worked extremely hard and came back a totally different Wahab. He lost 7 or 8 Ks. His skin folds were down by about 12%. And that made him a better bowler. And he realized then that he still wanted international cricket. Instead of flitting around the world going to 2020 comps, he then realized he wanted international cricket. And all these players need international cricket to keep their brand high, to get selected for 2020 comps. He wanted it. And with all praise for Wahab came back a different cricketer and played a really good role for us. And he fought extremely hard. He was outstanding, I felt, during that World Cup, and thoroughly deserved us calling him back.
Nabeel, you want to say something?
Mickey, I wanted to ask something. Like, like you were talking about your legacy, and that was built around the team culture and the fitness standards. Went high, not just in the Pakistan team, but in the domestic setup as well. But then suddenly we saw two, three cases of the players, like I would name them as well. There were questions that like people like Imad Wasim and Haris, were they completing their fitness test? Were they clearing them and then getting into the team? Can you please put light on that? And secondly, like when Haris was brought back to the test setup, he hadn't played any cricket for the last 3 years, and then he was preferred over the domestic performers. Can you talk us through those two cases?
Yeah, I can. Very, very easily. Harris Sahel and Imad Wasim did everything that they needed to do before going to the World Cup. They passed the tests that we had. Their tests weren't the same as the other team because they had knee issues. They had knee problems, so they couldn't run in the court. So they went and did their testing on a bicycle. So their tests were slightly different, but they got to the minimum standards required for them to be on that tour. And just then on to Harris Sahel, it's a kind of look where you have a look at Harris. And I always went through my time with Harris, always just wanting to shake him just a little bit to say, come on, he doesn't realize how good he is. Harris Sahel is a phenomenal cricketer. He is, I think, possibly, and this is a massive call, but he's in the top 3 players in all forms. Okay, bar maybe not 2020, but certainly in one-day cricket and Test cricket, he's in the top 3 guys now that if I was in charge, I would be selecting, because I think he's that good. But Harris was of the same ilk as what Wahab was, to a point where he needed to go back and he needed to realize that he needed to get himself better prepared. He needed to get himself fitter. He needed to get himself stronger to be the player that we know Harris Sahel can be, because he can be a hell of a player for Pakistan. We saw him play 2 incredible innings in the World Cup. The innings against South Africa was unbelievable. And then it goes and is often forgotten. But his partnership with Baba Azam in the New Zealand game was incredible, and he played an unbelievable innings. So Harris was always going to play, because I always thought Harris was good enough. And to this day, I'll keep watching Harris, because he's got so much time. He hits the ball extremely well, and I just hope that Harris fulfills his potential, because he's a gun player.
Okay, Mickey, we also have some questions coming in from the viewers who have tuned in. Shiraz Akhtar has a question, and the reason why I'm bringing this question up is because this is probably a query which every Pakistani fan has. So I'm just going to put that out for you. Shiraz, not this one. I think the question that I want to raise is, what was the reason for not giving chances to Abid Ali, Fawad Alam, and now they are in the team and Abid is showing his potential as well? So I want to talk about the question of not selecting Fawad Alam. What is the reason why Fawad Alam did not come near the selection?
Okay, I've been answering this question for ages. At the point in time when I came in, and it probably hasn't been spoken about before, I felt that there was no. Fawad Alam is a hell of a player. He's got a phenomenal record in domestic cricket, but I felt that to go back to Fawad Alam was a step backwards. I felt that we had enough young players coming through, and at that point in time in Test cricket, when I first started, you still had the Azhar Alis, you had the Misbahs, you had Yunus, you had Asad Shafiq. They were always going to play. Baba Azam, for me, was always going to play. So there was always one position available, and that position was at the top of the order. And sometimes, you have to be cruelish to be kind, and it didn't fit into the direction that I wanted to take the team at that point in time. I wanted to build the team with younger players and make these younger players better players. Like I couldn't see going back to Fawad Alam when you had a Harris Sahel, or whether you had a Imam Al Haq or You can name. Just trying to. Yeah, Asa Shafiq's. We and then we had a look at a couple of guys we took on tour, and they played a little bit. Osman Samadin played a little bit, but they, I felt that honestly, I felt it was going to be a step backwards, and I wanted to build a team of younger players that could take the team forward into the future. And rightly or wrongly, that was the call I made. No disrespect to Clyde, he keeps churning the runs out. Abid Ali, we came into the team, albeit a little bit later. We had worked really hard on getting a sustainable pair. As Ali started opening with Imam Al Haq at a point, and we kept on watching Abid. We had Abid on the radar all the time. We brought him in. He got 100, and he played well. And now he's come into the team, and he's worked extremely hard. And it's now Abid's time. He's made that position his own. But always the thing is, and I found this very prominent with particularly in Pakistan, is everybody always throws out names and said, well, what about Abid? What about Fahd? What about Ahmed Bhatt? What about him? But you can only play 11 players. And ultimately, you've got to find those 11 players that fits the brand of cricket that you want to play, and then you've got to back them in and allow them to grow and develop.
What about Imran Nazir, mate?
What is that?
Why not Imran Nazir? Because that's a question which all of us franchises face every day. Why haven't you selected Imran Nazir? Why isn't Imran Nazir there? So, I mean, I can understand what you're talking about. These are the sort of queries we get. But
well, hang on. I'm going to throw it back on you. You three guys are now all involved with PSL franchises. How does 18 get into 11? It's not that easy, eh?
Yeah. It's really tough. Yeah, I just wanted to ask one question that I think a lot of people want to know the answer to as well. When that review of the World Cup was happening, obviously there were plans for the future as well. So if you were still in charge and you had a choice to choose a captain other than Sarfaraz, who would you have suggested? And why?
That's an interesting question.
I already know the answer to this, but I want.
Yes, you do. And we're talking hypothetically here because I would have kept Sarfaraz going. But I would have, of the young players, I felt at the point in time, I think Babar is going to be a great leader for Pakistan down the line. I thought Babar just needed to keep batting, particularly if he's going to go into captaining all forms of the game. I would have, again, I've said it earlier on the show, that the guy for me that stands out with leadership qualities, Babar Azam has got loads of it, but Shadab Khan is a born leader.
Why do I feel Rehan sort of like planted that question to satisfy his Shadab love? So I think all of us sort of like figured that out. Okay.
I just wanted to ask one thing here. Mickey, like we have been talking about the World Cup, like Pakistan were unbeaten in their 4 matches, and it came down to the run rate issue that Pakistan just couldn't qualify. I would go back to the Champions Trophy. Like Pakistan is in the Champions Trophy. We lose our opening match to the arch rivals India. And then suddenly there were questions whether Pakistan would go far in the Champions Trophy or not. And then we saw Pakistan conquer the world there. Can you take us back to those memories, and if there are any untold stories from the dressing room that you would like to share?
That was the best 3 weeks of my coaching career because of the highs and lows, and I think it's something that also goes unlost in this is we went straight from the West Indies, so where we had just won for the first time as a test team in the West Indies in Misbah and Yunus's last game, and we got to thank Shannon Gabriel for that horrendous shot in the second last over, and we got in Dominica and won a very good test series. And then we moved on from there very, very buoyant into that Champions Trophy. I felt we were as prepared as we possibly could be. if I have to be honest, with game one, I thought we went into that game very, very well prepared. If I needed to do it again, I was too defensive in my selection. Oh, sorry, I've got a phone call coming in.
Not a problem.
It'll disappear now. There we
Not
go.
a
It's
problem.
done.
Yeah.
I felt that we were too defensive in our selection in game one. We went back to kind of what we knew, and it was, we went back with Ahmed Shahzad played, Wahab played. We didn't play Fakhar Zaman. We didn't play the young guys, if I could have that time again. Junaid Khan came in after that. He took Wahab's place and bowled particularly well during that series for us as well. So it was we were too defensive in game one. We were too nervy, it being the India game. We had a really good discussion in that dressing room straight afterwards. And Shoaib Malik was quite vocal. He sort of led it. He was outstanding there, just in terms of how we were going to play and how we were going to progress forward. And we chatted for probably about an hour as a team. I'd always wanted the players in the dressing room to challenge each other more. I felt there was the level of respect I felt was too high at times. And there's always good respect in the dressing room, but I wanted a more challenging environment where players challenged each other just a little bit more. And we spoke about that, and then we built up, and Sarfaraz and myself made the bold call in terms of selection. It was the emergence of Fakhar Zaman, and we kind of said, look, guys, we've got nothing to lose here. We're number 8 in the world. We expected to depart the tournament early, so let's go and play with that freedom. And Fakhar Zaman led the way without a doubt in terms of us playing with that freedom, and that just instilled so much confidence in the player. And then as we got on the roll, and we just got better and better and better, and at the end of that, we felt we could run through a brick wall. It was an amazing feeling to just see the team evolve that much over that period of time. It was I get goosebumps now talking about it. I've got a little tear in my eye. I remember the emotions. I remember the happiness. I remember the joy. It was unparalleled for me in my coaching career.
And I think it's fair to say that every one of us were, that turnaround has to be one of the most incredible turnarounds in sport, period. Not just cricket. We go out, get hammered in the first game from India. Well, horrible performance, let's be honest. It was, they completely dominated. And then the turnaround from there on. And especially, I think, for me, the miraculous game was the game against Sri Lanka. That last partnership between Sarfaraz and how he brought everyone home to that. That for me will always be the miraculous. That after winning that game, I was certain we were going all the way. I
still see Tassara Pereira every day and say thank you to.
Rehan, you were saying something?
I still see Tassara Pereira when I see him every day. I still thank him. He dropped Sarfaraz when Sarfaraz was about 8, the easiest catch at mid-on ever. So I said that's bought Tassara Pereira a couple of games for sure here in Sri Lanka.
Yeah. We're getting some questions in as well.
Haider
Asad Raza.
Haider,
Yes, Nabeel.
Haider, just to wind up the Champions Trophy topic from my side, one player I think who people have forgotten was Azhar Ali. The sort of innings that he played in the final of the Champions Trophy. People remember the Hafiz brisk knock, Fakhar Zaman century, Ahmed spell. But I think it was Azhar Ali, I think, who set up for us, because Fakhar was struggling in his first 50 runs. So, Mickey, what happened with Azhar Ali? Because it was like he was speaking at the right time in the ODI setup, and then suddenly he found himself out. and then he had to retire.
Yeah. Look, and Asa must take a lot of credit for that, because it wasn't only that innings in the final. Asa played a really good knock against England as well, and just settled the nerves in that semi-final game. He was very, very good there, and he kind of settled Faka a little bit, and that Faka could carry on and play, and Azhar Ali could be that player that the team sort of played around. He gave us that sort of comfort. And as then just got to a point where we felt that if we really wanted to take our one-day cricket to the next level, unfortunately, Az was the one that was going to retire, and he made the decision himself to retire. He also battled in the field. He got to a point where he was starting to battle a little bit with his knees in the field, and it was probably the right time for Az in one-day cricket. And I know Az won't be cross with me for saying that, because I think he probably thought that himself.
Okay, Mickey. Now let's take the question that was there on the screen, and it pertains to another person who has had a wonderful career so far. The question is from Asad Raza. Talk us through Shaheen Shah's meteoric rise through the ranks of Pakistan cricket team. So yes, an ode to Shaheen Shah, if you may.
Yeah, look, he is going to be exceptional. He is another kind of Baba Azam moment, where you see Shaheen Shah running in and bowling, and you look at that and you go, wow, the potential, the pace, the control, the ability to bowl at depth, to bowl Yorkers. He had that whole package. Well, and I'll never forget challenging the boys. We had been on that New Zealand tour. It was a tough one day tour for us. We lost the one dayers. We got hammered in the one dayers, and we had lost the first 2020. And this was the start of our, if New Zealand beat us there, they would have gone one. And we lost the first one, and we had just finished training at Auckland in Eden Park. We'd had training, and we went into the dining hall, and we were all having lunch. And on the TV screen was the Under-19 World Cup, and Pakistan had just started bowling, and Shaheen Shah Afridi was running in and bowling beautifully. And from the other end, we had Mohammad Hasnain running in, bowling beautifully. And I remember looking around that dining hall and just kind of subtly dropped it in. Oh, these boys are both bowling at 140. And with that, we sort of got a bit of a rise out of our bowling group, and we went on and they bowled superbly, and we ended up winning the series. But my point being that when I saw Shaheen Shah Afridi bowling on TV, I then watched a lot of him. I got footage sent to me of Shaheen. Watching him bowl, you kind of looked at that and you went, wow, here's a superstar. And this is a guy we need to get into our setup. We need to train him. We need to work with him. We need to get him stronger. We need to get him fitter. We need to play him in a certain couple of games. We then need to pull him out of a couple of games just so he could get accustomed to international cricket, because it was very clear and very evident that he was going to be a superstar, and he's going to progress into something very, very good for Pakistan.
Mickey, these days in Pakistan, we are talking a lot about, past fixing scandals, so on and so forth. And I think one of the major reasons why all of those questions have come to the fore is because of a certain player who's just been banned for 3 years. You've had a wonderful relationship with him in the past as well. Talk to us about your relationship with Umar Akmal and what went wrong, what went right. Is there still a chance for him to come back, or should Pakistan move on? Talk about Umar Akmal for a bit.
All right. Well, not a lot went right in our relationship. He, for me, sitting here now, I think if Pakistan picked him again, I'd be very surprised, and I think it would be a very poor decision. We almost gave Umar Akmal every opportunity to show us what he could do during my time. So Umar Akmal and this is, I don't care. It can be written in all the media. I don't care anymore. He rocks up. Okay, we give him an opportunity in the Champions Trophy. Everybody knows what the fitness levels are. He rocks up in England. He couldn't even get to like 14 and a half on the bleep test. I gave him 3 opportunities to pass that test. And this is on the back of him not being selected for the West Indies tour, which was the previous tour, because he failed his fitness test. Now, wouldn't you think that if you were the guy that failed the fitness test and didn't get on the one-day tour of the West Indies, we were away in the West Indies for a month, 5 weeks. I said to Umar Akmal when he didn't get on the West Indies tour, I said, Umar, you have a very good chance of coming to the Champions Trophy. You're not going to come to the Champions Trophy, though, if you don't pass your fitness test. I'm telling you that now. But you've got 5 weeks, because he had the skills that we wanted at that point in time in our one-day side. He had 5 weeks to go away and get himself to the levels that we wanted. That was why when we arrived in England, I was so keen to see where his fitness levels were, because that would have told me a little bit about him. It would have told me his desire and his want to get back into the team. And he was almost worse then than he was before when we tested him for the West Indies tour, as bizarre as that sounds. So I was not having any of that, because that then makes a mockery of the system we're trying to create. So that's why we sent him home from that. The incident that we had at the High Performance Center was, I just thought he was being arrogant. He rocked up at the High Performance Center when we got back and said he walked up to our fitness trainer, Grant Luden, who's an unbelievable man. He works unbelievably hard and takes his fitness very, very personally. He had given Umar Akmal 5, 6, 7, who knows, fitness programs over his years that he had been with Pakistan, and he started before I did. Umar rocks up at the academy and goes, "Well, hang on, Ludes, where's my program?" And Ludes has given him 7. He then goes to Grant and says, "Oh, well, can I have a hit?" And I just looked at this and just thought, this is being unbelievably arrogant. And that's when I said to him, "Look, let's go and have a chat, because you can't just rock in here into the academy and expect our staff to be at your beck and call after we've just sent you back from a Champions Trophy. You need to go away, sort yourself out, and then get the runs and performances to see if you want to come back into the team." So that was the falling out we had, and I might have used a couple of stronger words than I've just told you right now, but that was to try and get him, to try and, I guess, shock him into some sort of action. He then goes away, and we pick him eventually again for the so-called second team that played against Australia. And this was one more opportunity for Umar Akmal, because he had played quite well in the PSL. And I just want to say that at no doubt have I got in his ability to play the game. He is a phenomenal batsman. I have doubt at his decision making a lot of the time out in the middle, as to when and how he constructs his inningses. But then he got the opportunity to play in that series in the UAE against Australia, and he didn't perform. So we didn't pick him for the World Cup. So Umar Akmal ultimately has only got himself to blame, and I get, it does rankle me, because Pakistan cricket's deep in my heart. It does rankle me to see so many people going, "Oh, shame, the poor guy, the poor guy, the poor guy." Not the poor guy. He needs to sort himself out. And to be fair now, it's too late for him. It's too late. If he plays for Pakistan again, it'll be a very, very poor selection decision.
Yeah, Nabeel.
Mickey, like, your ideas were bought by the younger generation. So I and obviously the fans want to know your relationship with the senior guys like Mohammad Hafiz, Shoaib Malik, Miss Bowler, Yunus Khan. Did they, get along well with you, or were they hesitant in buying your idea?
Yeah, no, I got on. I got on really well with them. I got on. Misbah and Yunus during the start. I loved working with Misbah as a captain. Misbah's got an unbelievable cricket brain. I think Misbah's going to be a very good coach, and I wish him well. I hope that he does exceptionally well. Misbah's got a very good cricket brain. He eats, drinks, sleeps cricket. He will be a success. I loved working with Yunus because Yunus was just so different. I hadn't worked with a player that was as almost eccentric as what Yunus Khan was. He was, for me. I watched him. His corner, his everything was so neat. He was so precise on his timings. Yunus Khan was so incredibly professional. I loved working with him. Yeah, Mohammed Hafiz and myself went through our periods, and that's probably well documented. But I have got nothing but respect for Mohammed Hafiz as a person, and for what he's achieved on the cricket field. Albeit at times he felt he should have been playing. At times we didn't play him, but that you're going to have that along the way as a coach player. But I've got nothing but respect for Mohammed Hafiz. I think he's a hell of a player when he's on song, when he's fit, when he's bowling. He's always first name on the sheet when he's bowling as well. So I've got no issues with Mohammed Hafiz, and Mohammed Hafiz and I are we trading messages all the time. So in fact, I spoke to him last week about Ramadan and isolation, etc. He's a hell of a nice man, and he's a very good cricketer with very good values. So, albeit that we had a rocky relationship, I'd like to think we're on good terms. And then Shoaib Malik and myself had a really good relationship. It might have soured a little bit towards the back end because we picked him in the World Cup, and that I felt that we needed a little bit of experience. He gave that little bit of experience. We needed a guy to finish, albeit that he wasn't going to be in our first choice side, and as was shown, he wasn't. But I felt we needed the experience of Shoaib Malik. The young boys in that dressing room look up to Shoaib Malik. Shoaib Malik offers so much in terms of his experience and in terms of his knowledge and in terms of, just the way he's traveled around the world. The boys latch onto Shoaib Malik. Shoaib Malik had a definite role for us in that World Cup. And I think Shoaib Malik, I still think, is a hell of a player and a hell of a finisher. And that was why we picked him. We picked him for the World Cup. So I'd like to think my relationship. If I can see any of those guys out in the street, I would like to think, and I'm including Wahab in this. I'd like to think our relationships are excellent. I don't think I'd get a hello from Umar and Cameron Akmal, but you know what? I don't care.
Mickey, we've already gone past the hour mark. Let's just sort of like move towards winding.
Haider, we can request 10-15 minutes extra from Mickey. I think it's going
Perfect.
pretty well. If Mickey can give us like 10-15 minutes more, it would be great.
I've got nothing. I've got nowhere to be. Don't worry.
Okay, Mickey, then we will impose ourselves on you. Abdul Ghaffar, the journalist from Dawn, he has a question. He says, "Hi, Mickey and Gang of Three. Mickey, how would you rate Babar as captain? And also, are there any replacements of Yasir Shah in your mind?"
Yeah, look, I think, and I've said it before, I think Babar Azam is going to be a very good captain. I've seen Babar Azam go from a boy to a man, and I saw him come into the team as a boy, and when I certainly left the team, Babar Azam had become a man. And I say a man in terms of his confidence, in terms of his aura, in terms of his belief in his own ability. Babar developed that little bit of a swagger, and that little bit of a swagger that all geniuses have got. Babar has that now, which will keep him instead. I think Babar will be a very good captain for Pakistan. When he was brought in the 2020s, I would have still say I would have just let him go with the back for just a little bit longer. But Bobber knows the game. He thinks the game. He's tactically very good. I think Bobber will go a long way to being a very, very good captain for Pakistan. And then in terms of the question around Yasser Shah, well, Yasser Shah is a genius in Test cricket, but the boy's right there. You just got to give him the confidence. Shadab Khan can play all forms of the game for Pakistan without a doubt.
Yeah, but
Rehan, are you
is
with
Shadab?
us? Rehan,
Rehan is just smiling ear to ear
it feels like
whenever you
he's
say
sleeping.
Shadab.
It feels like he's sleeping.
I mean, you want to get a reaction out of Rehan? Just look at him and politely say Shadab, and you'll see him grinning ear to ear.
Well, he's an intelligent man, Rehan.
Mickey as well. He's like bowling first change.
He's
Rehan, you need to chip in now.
Yeah, so Mickey, if you wanted to make one change to the World Cup squad that eventually played, what would that be? Like, if you were given a choice to do that all over again, if there was one change you would make, what would that change be and why?
If there was one change I could make right now, I would have kept Fahim Ashraf with us, definitely. And we picked Mohammad Hasnain for, and that was my pick. I wanted Mohammad Hasnain because of his pace, because I felt if the wickets had flattened out and got a little bit drier, Mohammad Hasnain later in the tournament against the Afghanistans, against the Bangladeshis, we could pick a Mohammad Hasnain and he could use brute pace on him. But once we picked Wahab and got Wahab back into the team, that kind of took Mohammad Hasnain's role away just a little bit. And this isn't a slight to Mohammad Hasnain, because he's going to be very good, and I'd have him around all the time. But Fahim Ashraf would have just given us that batting and bowling ability. He would have just given us another selection option. That's all. So that's probably the one.
Okay.
Otherwise,
So I'm another answer with which Rehan is very, very satisfied. Yes, Nabeel.
yeah, I think Rehan has been only asking questions pertinent to Islamabad United.
No,
Sorry for
it
labeling
was
you.
an honest question,
Mickey,
man.
yeah.
It was an
Yeah,
honest
it
question.
was a general question.
Yeah.
It's a Mickey, I wanted to ask about a particular person that I know that you were very fond of, and even the Pakistan team, Steve Rickson. Now, do you feel that that the PCB handling wasn't right? Because with Steve Rickson, our fielding standards were going high, and from what we have heard from the players, like you and Steve Rickson were pretty close, and the planning that came through was because of you two guys. So how do you see that episode of Steve Rickson going out from Pakistan?
Yeah, look, I think it's really important that for me as a head coach, I have an assistant coach, a guy in my camp, as it were, that you can bounce a lot of things off, that you can talk to. Steve Rickson was that man for me with Australia. So we had built up a really good relationship. I respected Steve Rickson a massive amount. I respect his knowledge of the game, and I respect what he stands for in terms of cricket. When I got the job with Pakistan, my first name that I wanted was Steve Rickson, because I knew what he would bring, and I knew how Steve and I worked. And I think the key for a head coach is that you can't surround yourself in your support staff with yes men. You've got to have people in your support staff that keep challenging all the time. And I knew Stumper, because our relationship was so good. I could walk and say, Stump, how did I handle that situation? And he would go, not that good. We could have done it this way. And I respected him enough for him to give me that feedback. I respected his knowledge greatly. Him and I used to sit and strategize and throw names around all the time. The one thing Steve and I did was we didn't always agree, and then I had to make my decision. But our relationship was based totally on trust. I think at the end, at those 2 years, yes, Steve and and the PCB had a falling out, and went around. Stump wanted to stay on for a period of time, but the PCB, like he didn't get the contract, and there was the negotiations were a little bit slow, and Steve was 64 and he got a bit grumpy, and he then lost it and probably said some things he shouldn't have, and so it became a little bit messy in the end. So for that point of time where Stump was, it was probably the right time. And for me, then getting Grant Bradburn in, I got Grant Bradburn. Albeit his style is totally different to Stumper's style. His work ethic was the same. So I got Grant in to come and try and take the role for me that Stumper did as my sort of lieutenant. And he does it in his way, and it's a different way.
Okay, Mickey, I just want to be a bit critical here. Like, you had your support staff, but it was most of the guys were foreigner. Do you think that you guys passed on your knowledge to the local guys, and who were the best local coaches that you saw in Pakistan?
Yeah, we tried. We tried a lot of the time. We tried to get a lot of coaches forums going, etc., etc. And for one reason or not, it never materialized. I think in terms of I spent some time. I did go and watch some of the domestic cricket. I spent some time with some of the domestic coaches. And they were all good, honourable, good, hardworking guys, who are just looking for a break in the game as well. So, I don't want to name names too much, because I know that'll be a headline tomorrow that I said he should be coaching Pakistan and not Misbah. But there are a lot of good coaches. there are a lot of good coaches. There are a lot of good coaches in Pakistan, and it kind of went sort of, it goes foreign, local, and that's kind of how it seems to progress. So yeah, look, I hope Misbah does a good job. He seems to have surrounded himself with a good support staff. I think Shahid Aslam adds a lot of value to that, actually. So yeah, I hope they go from strength to strength. I really do, because I still feel a lot for Pakistan cricket.
All I heard was Shahid Aslam should replace Misbah, quote by Mickey Arthur. That's all that I heard. That's all that I heard.
Let me not get it wrong. I think Misbah will do a good job, a very good job.
Yeah.
It's sort of funny, like that Misbah played while he was captain. Waqar Yunis was the head coach. Now Misbah is the head coach and Waqar is the bowling coach. It's sort of funny.
It's
actually
quite remarkable.
I've watched how many times coaches come and go in Pakistan, and perhaps I'll get a second go somewhere down the line.
Would you take it up though?
Never say never. Never say never.
Okay, excellent. Mickey,
hey, and that's not going to be a headline tomorrow either. Eh?
That is going to be a headline.
Mickey Arthur is still keen on coming back to Pakistan.
Mickey Arthur wants to quit Sri Lanka. Mickey Arthur wants to quit Sri Lanka for Pakistan.
Let's just get this right. I'm very happy here in Colombo. I'm loving my work.
Mickey, you've had a topsy-turvy relationship with the media here in Pakistan as well. So, I mean, because I think a lot of times you also had issues with some information from getting leaked from the dressing room, so on and so forth, and you had to battle that out as well. For those who are watching this show who don't have that much of an idea what was going on, if you can just elaborate on your relationship with the media and how it sort of like operates within the Pakistani cricketing circles.
It was a kind of love-hate, I guess, relationship with the media as well. But I do think that there's some very, very good journalists out there. I think there's a lot of journalists that I kind of trusted and I thought did a good job. The Shahid Hashmi, the guys like that are good, solid journalists. Who write the facts. My issue that I had, and I've never been in any country where information can you can say something, and within 5 minutes, it's on a TV channel somewhere. And I constantly looked and checked whether my room at the high performance center was bugged. I constantly checked. I thought there's got to be a ghost in here, because I always had the problem that whenever I said something that came out in the media, albeit blown up and being sensationalized, but my problem was when I thought something that came out in the media too. So I thought my room was definitely bugged.
Mickey, by the way, I have a television on right now, and the breaking news right now is that Nicky Arthur thought that his room was bugged. So before you could finish that sentence, that just kidding there, man.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Mickey, like you said, there were leaks from the dressing room, and you had sort of a mixed relationship with the players. When you wanted to have a go at them, you did go hard at them. So do you think that there were times during the dressing room that were emotionally and mentally tough for you, like going at the players and then not getting the sort of reaction that you would want?
No, and I think the one that got a lot of mileage was the one at Centurion Park, and that for me was just that was just born out of frustration, because I'd just seen us slip, and we had put so much into that tour to be the first Asian country to go and win a test series in South Africa. And I'll never forget, I was doing something. In fact, I was a little bit nervous at the point in time, because I knew that we were on the cusp of something good. And we had got ourselves to 100 for 1 in the second innings. And I knew that which 100 for 1 gave us a lead of 80, which meant that we were only about 180 runs away from knowing that we were going to win that test match at Centurion, because the wicket was up and down. The wicket was going to be corrugated. They wouldn't have got 250, and we had got ourselves to 100 for 1, and I'll never forget thinking, we just need to push on. We just need to get through here. Another 50, and we lost 9 wickets in that evening session, which meant South Africa chased 210 or 205 instead of chasing the 260. And that was a significant difference. And I felt there at that point in time, we needed a batsman, somebody to just stand up and take it on. It was tough. They were bowling quick. They were bowling short. But if we had just got through to the end of that day and then gone on the next day, the wicket would have deteriorated more. The uneven bounce would have been even more exaggerated. And I felt at that point in time was where we lost the test match by losing 9 wickets in that session. And so that was just born out of frustration. I loved how it was portrayed, though, throwing coffee cups and tea cups and kicking. That never happened. That never happened.
Not the story I want to hear, my friend. Not the story I want to hear.
What did happen was that I went hard, probably too hard in hindsight, and that led to a little bit of animosity for a day, and then after that sat down, we worked it out, and we were united, and off we went again. But that's what happens in cricket teams. That's what happens in international sporting teams.
Mickey, that is something that happens in the families as well. Even
100%
family.
With the amount of time that you spent with each other on the road and travel, and I was genuinely disappointed, because I thought I'd seen us throw a winning position away in one session. In 1 hour, we lost that test match. And that was extremely disappointing for me. So yeah, I probably was over the top, but that was that came from a frustrating place for me, because I knew I wanted Pakistan to so badly be their first Asian team that had gone to South Africa and won. And we had built that whole tour up around that. And to see that vanish in one session was disappointing.
And you know what the funny story is that Duane Olivier ran through the Pakistan batting ranks. And then after that series, he signed the Colpack deal. And the players were cursing him, why were you trying to finish our careers?
100% right. He goes and signs exactly 100%.
Yeah. On that note, Mickey, thank you so much. This has been our longest show yet. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to speak to you because you're one of those people who always is upfront, honest about all these things, and it's always good to have a conversation with you. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoy your lockdown a bit more in Colombo.
Yeah, we're supposed to be a little bit out on the streets tomorrow, so I think we've got a little bit of a pass. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed. You know what we didn't touch on, and I'm going to say one more just for the last thing on record, is we didn't start the World Cup well, but we ended the World Cup as the informed team. People say we had a poor World Cup. We had two poor games. West Indies, where we could never recover from that run rate. We finished tied fourth. We beat England. We beat New Zealand. So for me to constantly,
just to add controversy to the discussion, do you think that the game of India against England, it was questioned even in India as well, that people like Dhoni and they never tried chasing it?
Look, I don't know. I certainly don't want to create a headline in the Indian papers tomorrow. But that was disappointing for me because the way we finished that World Cup from that South Africa game was how we had sort of, that momentum was the same in the Champions Trophy, and had we snuck through, I'd still be sitting. I'd be in your studio. I wouldn't be sitting in Colombo. Because I think we would have won the World Cup if we got to a semi-final.
Yeah. Mickey, thank you once again for being a part of this show. It was a pleasure to have you. We'll definitely bug you again sometime in the future. Thank you, Rehan. Thank you, Nabeel. For all of those who are watching us, thank you for tuning in. It's pretty much iftar time, so we have to wind it up now. Do give us your feedback. Do give us your, opinions on how the show went. Till next time, Khuda Hafiz.